Alright, hey guys, how's it going? I thought I'd do something a little different today and make a tier list video on Warlock Exotics in PvE specifically. I might do PvP at a later date, but I've always been more of a PvP focused person, so I'm just going to be sticking with PvE for this. I tried recording this yesterday and it went to an hour and 20 minutes in length, so I'm recording it today just to hopefully shorten that time down and get my thoughts more precise and more thought out. And then I've also I've trimmed and tweaked the tier list a bit, so I think I have everything fairly certain on where it should be. But let me know in the comments if you have any disagreements or anything. So I'm going to be ranking each exotic on some criteria. I'm not going to give them a number, but just generally, we're going to be ranking everything off of viability in normal content, just like strikes or out in the open world, and in normal raids, and then versus endgame, so something like Master Vault of Glass or Grandmaster Nightfalls. We're going to be looking at the investment needed to use the exotic, so this means for something like, let's say, Stormdancer's Brace, you're going to be having to use an Arc class, and it has to be one of the Ticklefinger subclasses, so top or bottom. So that's kind of what investment means. It means how much you have to put in to use the exotic. We have fun factor, should be simple enough, just how fun is the exotic to use. Practicality, this is kind of similar to investment, but this is more how practical it is in gameplay. If we had an exotic that gave you 1000% damage if you got 7 360 no scopes while in the air while throwing a grenade, the power of that is definitely strong, but it's not very practical to pull that off. So that's how I'm going to be ranking practicality, and that's what it means. And then, of course, the most important part to any exotic is the looks. And that's basically what this list is going to be. I wish. Maybe I'll do a just for looks tier list eventually, and we'll do all the ornaments. I think that could be fun. But let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into our first exotic. We're going to go backwards, starting with boots. It's going to be Boots of the Assembler. Exotic perk is Blessing of Order. Standing in a healing rift creates noble seekers that seek out allies that are not in a rift and heals them. Standing in an empowering rift creates noble seekers that grant both you and your ally a damage bonus. And each time a noble seeker finds one of your allies, the duration of your rift is briefly extended while you are standing in it. These had a bit of controversy when they came out because they were, I don't know if they were disabled, but they were instantly nerfed, and everyone was like, man, what the hell? And then they brought them back. They're a tiny bit weaker than when they first came out, but they're almost the same. And just a quick thing, I have never seen this part. Standing in an empowering rift creates noble seekers that grant both you and your ally a damage bonus. I've never seen it grant me a damage bonus, and I don't know if it's because I'm standing in a rift or something, but if I leave the rift, I don't have a damage bonus, and it doesn't make sense that the empowering rift would count as the damage bonus, because that's just the empowering rift. So I don't know if the wording's just wrong, or I'm wrong, but I'm never wrong, so it's not me. I really like these boots. They are pretty fun to use. You don't have to invest that much into them because you can do it on any subclass. You just have to drop your rift and you swap between empowering and healing. But it obviously shines on Middle Tree Solar because that healing and empowering is going to get all your abilities up a lot quicker. And I think it's pretty viable in everything. It's cool to see these little healing bolts rushing out to heal people or give them a damage buff. And then you can do some funny shenanigans with Lumina, but that's more of a PvP thing. I'm going to put these in A tier might be a bit biased, but I think they're just really fun to play around with, and it's unique. There's nothing really like that in the game currently. Maybe with those glaive turrets we're getting in Witch Queen. Next up we have Promethium Spurs. Exotic perk is Embers of Light. Defeating combatants or guardians while Daybreak is active creates a healing and empowering rift at their location. While standing in any rift, solar weapon final blows grant rift energy. While your rift energy is full, final blows consume your rift energy and create a healing and empowering rift at the target's location. This exotic was absolute garbage before they reworked it. It used to just be this first sentence. Defeating combatants with Daybreak gives the double rifts. Now, it has this whole second part based off using solar weapons and rifts to drop more rifts, those double rifts. It doesn't work. Please don't try to use these. It feels bad. It's just clunky. You don't have to invest into the solar subclass. You could run this on anything, but you will have to use a solar weapon for that second half of the perk. It's just not good. I mean, you have to get a fairly high amount of kills to fully regen your rift to then drop another one, and it's just not great. And even then, if you drop the rift, it's on an enemy that you killed, so you're gonna have to run way the hell out there to stand in that one to then try to continue the loop. It's just not worth it. I think I'm gonna put these in F. There's better things to run if you want to do almost any of what it provides. It's not worth it. Next, we're going to Geomag Stabilizers. These things have been nerfed over and over and over again, but they're still not the worst. Armor perk is close enough. Damaging targets with Chaos Reach extends its duration. It used to also quickly recharge your super when you were close to it, like 75%, 80%, it would just almost instantly charge. That made it a lot better, but because of PvP, they've been having to repeatedly nerf it. So this doesn't add a whole lot. It's basically doubling the time your super is active, which kind of means double the damage, but the DPS doesn't go up at all, and usually there's weapons that are going to be doing more damage than your Chaos Reach will. So specifically for like a DPS phase, this isn't the best. You're almost better off just using weapons, unless you're running like a Divinity or something. You don't have a very strong DPS. But I guess if you're running Div, you're going to be diving. You're not going to be geomagging, Chaos Reaching. But I think it's still fun. You can zap stuff for a hell of a long time, and that's useful in low content and high content. And it's the only exotic that like directly affects Chaos Reach. So there is a bit of that high investment, because you're going to be having to use Middle Tree Arc, but this is made for that. And the practicality is fine, because it's just whenever you super, it's going to be twice as long, and it's not bad. Fairly above average, so that goes in B. Next up, we've got Lunafaction Boots. Exotic trait is Alchemical Etchings. Your rifts gain additional ability to increase weapon reload speeds. Empowering rifts make weapons effective over longer ranges. So these things are pretty notorious and infamous. They were pretty weak right when D2 came out, because in order to get the auto reload bonus, you had to like step in and out of your rift, and then they fixed that and they were bonkers, and everyone just had infinite ammo, never had to reload. Then they nerfed it, and it was just max reload speed, and then Izanagi's was broken, and then nerfed Izanagi's, and now we're here today. They're still excellent. Any Warlock using Well for DPS is going to be using these, because Well will give you the maxed out reload speed, and also it counts as an empowering rift too, so your weapons have more range. So something like fusion rifles will reach very, very far and usually hit stuff that they can't. Especially with Templar, you can fusion them from pretty far away and still have that max damage. And then if using PvP, you can map people with Shap. So it's not bad in either modes. It's not the most flashy exotic, not the most, power fantasy isn't that great, but just having your whole team be able to reload quickly is great. And even for yourself, I use it sometimes in solo dungeons because I think reloading that quick is so important if you're really trying to fit in as much DPS as you can. So for me, these are firmly in S tier. Next up is Transversive Steps. Exotic perk is Strange Protractor. Sprint speed increased. After a short time sprinting, your currently equipped weapon is automatically reloaded. These are much more of a PvP boots. You don't see them that often in PvE, if at all. The sprinting speed is cool. It's noticeable, and then the reloading is nice. And I know for some weapons, like for Xenophage, you reload quicker if you use these rather than reloading like a Lunafaction Rift, but I think in PvE, there's not that many times where you'd need to sprint and reload over just reloading. So, yeah. There's nothing you have to invest to it. You don't have to do anything. You literally just have to sprint. So, not bad in that regards. But the power, the power fantasy is pretty low, I would say, for PvE. So I'm gonna put these. I'll put these in B because it's a little bit above average. You sprinting and reloading is you're gonna be like, oh, my gun's reloaded. I don't think it's C. Next up is Mantle of Battle Harmony. This one's a favorite of mine. Exotic perk is Absorption Cells. Takedowns with weapons that have a damage type matching your subclass element grants you super energy. While your super energy is full, you instead gain a temporary bonus to weapon damage of the type matching your subclass element. So, the investment for this exotic is pretty high. Not too high, actually. It's decent, because you're gonna have to run the same subclass as the energy weapon or the heavy weapon that you're using. But I think the bonus is really good. More so the damage bonus rather than the super energy. The super energy is nice, especially if you run it with like a weapon that has Thresh as well. It can really get your super up there. But this bonus damage to that element is really good as well. And then especially with Stasis, this really shines with something like Aegir's to bolster the Catalyst. So you'll be getting the super up a lot quicker to use the Catalyst, and if there's a place where you don't want to use the Catalyst super regen, you just have the damage bonus from Mantle of Battle Harmony. I think it's good in all content. You're going to be getting kills with guns always. You don't really need that many. There is a timer, so you can't like stack a ton of kills really quick and get your super fast as frick. But yeah, not too bad. It's very fun to use as well. So I'm going to put these... I'll put them in A. I think they're really good. Especially if you include Aegir's. This is like a S, but that requires you to run Aegir's and Stasis. So I think A. I'm comfortable with them in. Next up we have Stormdancer's Brace. These were not that good a while ago, but they got buffed. Exotic perk is Ascending Amplitude. Each target you defeat with Storm Trance increases the damage you deal with it and refunds super energy when Storm Trance ends. The new part of this is the refunding super energy when it ends. You can get up to half, and I think you only need like 6 or 7 kills for that. I really like this one. before, when it was just you get more damage in Stormtrance, it was like, who cares really? The thing's not used for damage anyway. It's for like big waves of ads to clear, and it helps with then killing like pretty tanky majors. So then if you kill 6 or 7 enemies, you get half your super back. You can get that pretty quickly, especially with bottom tree arc. It's not bad. Of course, you do have to run tickle fingers with this, but I think for the power fantasy, it's really cool. And I really wish more of these exotics that are like, oh, get half of your super back, would have something else like this, like you deal more damage with it too. It's a foreshadowing to a later coming up exotic, but I think this is done really well. It's just slept on because the arc subclasses are kinda weak. But mark my words, when Arc 3.0 comes out, this thing is going to be crazy. I'm going to put this in A. I think it's a hell of a lot of fun to use. And then I think in higher end content too, it's not that bad. If you get your super up, you're going to be tanky enough to survive most stuff. And you're going to get like 6 to 7 ad kills. It's going to be doing quite a bit of damage, and then you'll have half of it back. Pretty good. But I think just a bit behind Mantle, and I would say ahead of these. I think that's how I want it. Next up is Phoenix Protocol. If you're running well, you're either running this or Luna's. I'd say like 99% of the time. Oh no, because you have Boosted Assembler. It's like one of these 3 exotics. Exotic perk is Battle Hearth. Kills and assists you make while standing in your well of radiance returns super energy. Pretty simple. You can get half your super, just like the Stormdancer's Brace. And this kind of changes the use of the well, because a lot of people are just using well for like boss damage. So this is not good for that, because you're going to be shooting the boss, not ads. So it basically does nothing. I see too many people using this for like Aetheon DPS or Tanix DPS, and it's like, bro, it's doing nothing. Are you shooting ads? Shoot the boss. But for something like Gatekeepers and Vogue, if you drop it like before you leave to help your buddies out, or for the Confluxes, or for Deepstone Security, anything where there isn't going to be a boss, these are really good in. And even then, you can, let's say if you are going to use this for Aetheon, you can use this at the beginning. You can drop your well, use this, get a 50% back up, and then switch to Luna's. And then you'll have your super up by the time Aetheon's there. I don't like exotic swapping. I feel like it's a little cheesy, and I feel like it kind of goes against the spirit of the game. But if you want to do that, you can. Another thing too, if you do like 2 Warlocks with this, you almost have like an infinite well. It's pretty cool. I think this could be S. I'll put it here. We'll see how we'll come back to it. We'll see how we're feeling. Next up is Chromatic Fire. Exotic perk is Crystalline Transistor. Precision final blows with your kinetic weapon create an explosion in the element of your subclass. I don't know why it says it twice there. Anyways, this one is not that strong, but it's just fun. You get Firefly on any kinetic weapon, and if it has Firefly, like Fatebringer or Ace, it doubles up, so you have double Firefly. Huge explosions, it's cool. It's a lot of fun. The fun factor is way up there, and I think it's good in lower content. Higher stuff, I don't think Firefly is particularly useful. Jeez. I wonder if you could hear that. It was just loud ass car drove by. Anyway, higher end content, not that great, but it's fun in strikes and stuff like that. Just has to be on a kinetic weapon is the only restriction, really. I don't think the subclass matters, really. I don't think you have to be too particular about like the element it is. Unless you're in some activity where everything has a certain type of shield. It's fun, not that powerful. I will put it here. Yeah, there. Right there is good. Yeah, I can't look at this or I'm going to think way too hard and I'm going to like... It's going to be a 3-hour video instead. Next up is Sanguine Alchemy. Armor perk is Blood Magic. Weapon kills while standing in any rift. Pause. Weapon kills while... Okay. Weapon kills while standing in any rift. Pause the rift cooldown. Pause the rifts. Jesus, I am... Oh no, I have to restart the whole thing. Cut the clip. Weapon kills while standing in any rift. Pause the rift's cooldown, extending its duration. Further kills maintain and extend the length of the pause. I don't think an infinite rift is that valuable. Because I think in almost all content, you're going to be moving positions. So the rift... I think you're better just running like a well. The Phoenix Protocol well. But again, this works on any subclass, so you can just throw it on. You can have infinite rift. So it's not the worst. I don't think it's that valuable. In like low or high content. In low content, you're breezing through stuff so quickly. You're almost speed running. And then high content, I don't think an infinite rift is that valuable, especially if stuff's really tanky. You're not going to be killing enough stuff to keep it up forever. So I think this is going to be our first D. Next up, Vesper of Radius. You barely see this thing. This had like a bit of a rise to fame when Frost Pulse came out, the Stasis Rift Freeze. And then it got like disabled because it was breaking PvP, and I don't know if it worked the same in PvE, but just people stopped using it. It's very like niche, and I don't think that useful. Exotic perk Planetary Torrent. Rifts release an arc shockwave when cast. Rift energy recharges faster when you're surrounded by enemies. The arc shockwave is nice, but Rift is very clunky to use, and I feel like half the time you're going to sprint up to an enemy, use this, you're going to run over a pebble, and it's going to cancel your whole animation, and then you're screwed. Rift energy recharging quicker when you're surrounded is nice, and the damage is okay, but I just don't think it's that useful, again, like Sanguine Alchemy. I will put it above Sanguine Alchemy, just because I think that Rift recharging is a bit better than an infinite rift. Next up, we have Wings of Sacred Dawn. Armor perk is Tome of Dawn. When Dawnblade is equipped, aiming weapons while you're mid-air suspends you there for a short time, improving airborne accuracy, reducing incoming flinch, and granting damage resistance. Granting damage resistance. Weapon hits extend this effect's duration. This is again one of those PvP exotics, I think. If you didn't need Dawnblade, this could be a tiny bit better, but you're gonna have to use Dawnblade, and then all you get is you can aim in air. You're a little bit tankier when you do it. So I don't think that's valuable really at all. It can be kinda cool, but I don't think it's worth the exotic slot. I'm gonna throw this bad boy down in D. I think beneath these two. Just because these at least work on everything. Next up, Starfire Protocol. Fusion Harness is the exotic perk. Fusion grenades have an additional charge and recharge from empowered weapon damage. Fusion grenade kills grant rift energy. So there's kind of a cool loop here with you want to use empowering rift, so you have empowered weapon damage, and then that will give you fusion grenades back. And then you get kills with your Fusion Grenade. You get Rift Energy. So it's kind of a cool loop, but you have to use a Solar subclass and you have to use Fusion Grenades, which are those sticky ones. It's kind of a big commitment. In PvP, this is kind of cool because you have that double grenade charge, but in PvE, I think this is severely overvalued, and I've been seeing a lot of people saying that new Stasis Gauntlet that gives you two Stasis Grenades is going to be super strong because you can throw 2 Bleak Watchers, but I think once you throw that second one, you're never going to have energy recharging in that second one again, because Bleak Watchers you throw out like instantly. So you're better off just running something that increases grenade regen, and you'll end up getting more turrets in the long run. Unless you're doing like you need 2 Bleak Watchers like immediately. Again, with this, you have 2 Fusion Grenades, which I guess you can make it 2 healing grenades, but I just don't see it as that valuable. I think for this one, it's definitely better than all of these. So I think it goes here, and then maybe it'll get bumped up to C, depending on how I feel later on. Next up, we have Nothing Manacles. It's kind of the same deal. You're going to get an additional grenade charge, and then it enables tracking for scatter grenade projectiles. But to get the double grenades, it has to be the scatter grenades. So this is like the scatter grenade exotic. So again, you're gonna have to be void and use that specific grenade. Everyone says these are broken, so I don't want to like judge it too harshly if it gets fixed and it turns out to be incredible. I haven't done that much testing on it, so I don't know if this enables tracking just means it becomes like Top Tree Void's charge grenade, if they're similar, or if this does anything when you do that, the top charge. So those might cancel each other out, or they might stack. I'm not sure, but scatters aren't that useful in PvE. I think everyone's using like Axion bolts because of the low cooldown, or just the vortex grenades. The additional charge can be used with like handheld supernova, but I think there's a much better exotic to be used for that, 2 even. I just don't find these that valuable in their nerf state. Maybe when they're buffed, they're actually crazy, or when they're fixed. So for now, I will put these. I'll put it there. Next up, Necrotic Grips. Grasp of the Devourer. Damaging combatants envenoms them with poison that deals increasing damage over time. Defeating a poisoned combatant spreads the condition to nearby targets. And okay, so it says melee's here, but not in the actual description. It's melee damage only. Doesn't have to be a charge melee, any melee. You don't have to have any charge for it. And it works with Thorn too, which is a neat interaction. And I think that's useful in like some harder end stuff, because the poison does do a substantial amount of damage. The tick is like exponentially greater every tick, but then you're having to run an exotic armor piece, an exotic weapon, and Thorn isn't that useful in PvE. Maybe it'll be a bit better with the 40% exotic buff coming up, but I still don't know if that's worth the 2 exotics paired together. But this is a super fun exotic. I love running it in like strikes and altars of sorrow. It's a lot of fun. Again, in that high-end stuff, it's going to be harder to melee things. So you could use like Top Tree Dawn for the ranged melee, or middle arc. I think we're getting a ranged melee for Void with Witch Queen, so might see it be useful there. Maybe not. But this is an absolutely fun one. It's a joy running this. I think that would go here. It's definitely more fun to run than either of those two. I think it's a good spot for it. Getaway Artist is next. I'm lost. Here it is. Dynamic Duo. Q press. It's really Q hold. Grenade hold. Converts your arc grenades into supercharged arc souls. The arc soul functions as an autonomous turret. So you're gonna have to be arc. Any grenade, doesn't matter. This synergizes particularly well with Bottom Tree because that has their arc souls. And I believe if you pop this one and then stand in your rift, it will keep refreshing the duration. So you can keep it up a lot longer. And this isn't the strongest exotic, but again, it's really fun to use. You can use this with no time to explain. You have 2 buddies shooting everywhere. And this is going to end up dealing more damage than any arc grenade, because this is just constantly shooting for like 20 seconds. So it's not bad. I can see it be kind of useful in endgame, just as an extra damage. Free damage. It's going to be better than a grenade. And then low stuff, it's fun to run. Not the strongest, but it's useful. It's better. It's basically just a way better grenade for arc in the majority of cases. So I think this is kind of paired up with Necrotic, and we'll put it under Necrotic. Necrotic's cooler, I think. Cool factor, it wins out. Next up, Contraverse Hold. Armor perk is Chaotic Exchanger. Resist incoming damage while charging your Void grenades with Chaos Accelerant, Feed the Void, or Handheld Supernova. Charged Void grenades return an amount of grenade energy on hit. This amount used to be random, now it's 50%. It's always going to be 50% of your grenade back, and sometimes it can proc twice if an enemy stands near like your Vortex grenade for the full duration, but that doesn't happen very often. It's a little bit restrictive because you're going to be having to run Void, but it's definitely worth it. You get half your grenade back on a charged grenade. So you don't want to run this on bottom because you're going to be eating your grenade. So the only thing you'll be getting out of this exotic is the damage resist while you eat that grenade. You're not going to get half of it back or anything. So this works really well for middle with the handheld Supernova. Maybe a bit better in PvP, but they've been buffing it a lot in PvE, so that actually packs quite a punch, but it's pretty short range, just kind of like a shotgun shot as a grenade. And then Top Tree works extremely well because those grenades are going to be super buffed, doing way more damage, way more potent, and now all their cooldowns are halved. You can really do an easy like firepower build or a well build, well of light, whatever those are called, and you can get your grenade like up every time you throw it. This doesn't work with grenade kickstart unless you throw a really long grenade and kickstart activates before the grenade lands and activates this perk, but that doesn't really happen ever, so I would recommend not to use grenade kickstart. Use something else. These bad boys are easily S. Easily. These are super fun to use, super strong. It's like it's a class defining almost. So much of Warlock's identity is built into grenades, and just having half cooldown on some of the strongest grenades for the class is super strong. And you get damage resist too. It's really great in low content. You can just destroy a bunch of ads, and then high content too. They do good damage, and you just have to hit them. You don't have to kill anything. You just have to hit an enemy, and you get 50% back. It's great. Works wonders. Fantastic. A+. S. Well, it's an S. S+. I'll make a new tier for it. Very solid S. Next up is Claw of Ahamkara. The Whispers. Gain an additional melee charge. Quite a short description there. Again, I talked about kind of my opinions on having an additional charge on like a grenades, and the same goes for melee, except is maybe a bit more useful because you're not always punching something. You can always be throwing a grenade, but the punch is a bit more restrictive. But I think almost all Warlock melees suck, and I don't see which one you would want to use and have an additional melee charge for it. I don't see how this would work with anything PvE related. I don't think there's any build you want to focus solely on a melee that you would want 2 additional melee charges instead of something that gives you melee regen. I don't think it's particularly useful in anything really. I think this is gonna go in D. Gee, D is very big. This is gonna be the biggest grouping. I'm gonna put it here. I know this is just scatter grenades. You have 2 of them. But grenades are just better than melees. I think it goes there. Boom. Ophidians are up next. Ophidian Aspect. Cobra Totemic. Weapons ready and reload very quickly. Melee range is extended. This is another one of those PvP exotics. Doesn't provide that much benefit in PvE, but it's a pretty substantial bonus. The handling buff is nice, and the reload is nice, and your melee is a bit longer, which isn't the most noticeable stuff, but it's always on. There's no requirements. Works in anything. You're never gonna not want handling and reload in melee range, but you're gonna want a lot of stuff over that, I think. So I think it's just average. Above average maybe, because it's not bad, it's just so much stuff is better than it. I think we'll pair it with the boots. Next, gloves on the block. Aeon Soul. Everyone says used to suck. I had a lot of fun running the Warlock ones with the Hunter ones. It gives your buddy like infinite dodges, and then you get infinite grenades. I thought it was really cool. I was sad when they reworked it because it's a lot different now. It's going to be a bit of reading with this one because it's basically 3 exotic perks that you swap between. Sect of Force is the first one. You specialize in punishing powerful combatants before they can harm your allies. Rapid precision hits with a weapon temporarily increase your reload speed and weapon swap speed. When you stun a champion or defeat a boss or mini-boss, your nearby fire team members gain a burst of grenade and melee energy. Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sect of Force role equipped also gain a burst of super energy. Not bad. Again, these are still focused on having multiple people run them, but you're going to be wanting people running different sects. So you have Sect of Force, Sect of Insight, Sect of Vigor. You're going to be wanting to run different ones so you can all benefit from that last sentence there. So they're all going to be getting super energy whenever you stun a champ or kill a boss or mini-boss. And then they'll also be getting the grenade and melee. So this is pretty cool. And then for yourself, you get the rapid precision hits with the weapon, increasing your reload speed. I'm not entirely sure if when it says your nearby fire team members, I don't know if that counts you. Because this one also involves, I'll just read it. You specialize in empowering your allies, keeping them well supplied. Successive precision weapon takedowns have a chance to drop an orb of power for your allies. When you use his finisher on an elite, you generate special ammo for your fire team. When you use a finisher on a boss or mini-boss, you generate heavy ammo for your fire team. Nearby Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sect of Insight role equipped also gain a bonus to weapon damage for a short time. So again, you see there, it generates heavy ammo for your fire team or special. So I'm not sure if you just don't get the ammo, or if it also drops for you. I have a feeling it doesn't drop for you. I feel like these would be super great solo, because you can just finish anything and get like infinite ammo. So the thing that you get is the successive precision weapon takedowns, drop Orb of Light for your allies. So maybe you don't get anything by using this. This is purely just helping your allies out. I think elites are just majors. They need to really... I haven't seen elite used very often in like enemy wording, but I'm gonna assume that is a major, like an orange bar. Anyways, next up, Sect of Vigor, the worst one. Gain class ability energy as your allies die. Gain full class ability energy when you resurrect an ally. When you cast your super, nearby allies gain an instant burst of healing. Aeon Cult allies who do not have the Sect of Vigor roll equipped also gain an overshield. I am heavily opposed to exotics, or just anything for that matter, that rely on bad things happening. I think Titan has one that's like solely focused on like rezzing people, and they like buffed it so now you get like weapon damage, but ideally you don't have people dying, so that's the rezzing out of the window, and that's the gain class ability. So I know it's not a perfect world, so people are gonna die, but if you're running this and no one ever dies, it kind of just feels bad. And then the only thing that has to it then is giving people healing when you use a super and an overshield. And I don't think that's good. So I think having people running around in pairs of Sect of Force and Sect of Insight is good. I think these two are great. This one, I don't see it being used often. Maybe it is, but as far as I'm concerned, you want like pairs of these two running around. In a raid, like if you have 3 teams of 2, if you want to go all out Aeons, you have these. It's quite the complicated exotic, but it's really good. I kind of miss the old ones a bit, but it's not bad, not bad. I will throw this bad boy here. Yeah, and I think Mantle deserves to be above it, just because you have to be solo, or you have to have a team really to use this. Okay, boom, confirmed. Goes right there. Next up, Winter's Guile. I'm gonna be very biased on this one, but I'll still try to rank it fairly. Warlord's Sigil. Eliminating enemies with a melee attack increases your melee damage. That stacks at ×5. I don't know what the damage buff is at ×5, but it's a lot. This is significantly better now that our melee speed is the same as Titan and Hunter. Used to be a lot slower, so it felt bad to run an exotic based around punching everything when your punch is very slow. Now it's a lot better. Feels good. Not the most useful, but here's when my bias begins, because that you don't want to run this endgame. But you can have a lot of fun with this, maybe even in some kind of endgames things, with Devour, and then a 1-2 punch shotgun, and you're just running around punching everything, healing to full every time you kill something. Come up against something really strong, 1-2 punch it with a shotgun, and then punch it. It's gonna get deleted. Maybe not as strong as the Titan throwing hammers that are destroying the world and Liar's Handshake, but this is active always. Doesn't need to be an empowered melee. It's just any melee does whatever the damage amount is. So I want to believe there's going to be some build eventually where like, oh my god, this is crazy. This helped beat the raid first, day 1. But putting my excitement aside, I think it goes C. I think my excitement keeps over any of these down there. Karnstein Gauntlets. Vampire's Caress. Melee kills instantly restore a large amount of health and continue to restore health afterwards for a short duration. These got changed. I don't know if it was a change or a nerf, but these got changed a long time ago, so almost no one remembers that, and it's just, this is how they've been for a while. Again, these are more of a PvP exotic, In PvE, they're useful up until endgame. I don't think you're going to be punching stuff that often in endgame to use these. And then, like, if you need the healing that bad, stuff's going to kill you, I think, anyway, in endgame. And then, if you need the healing, just using an Empowering Rift or something else. Low content, this is fun to run around with, but you're better off just running Devour, I think. But this works on any subclass. You can do whatever you want with it. But I think these would go... I think this goes here. Next up is Sunbracers. I love these things. Armor perk is Helium Spirals. Increase the duration of solar grenades. Solar melee kills grant unlimited solar grenade energy for a brief time. Solar grenades means specifically the grenade called Solar Grenade. Doesn't mean any solar grenades. A little bit confusing. So you have to be a solar subclass and you have to run a specific grenade. Kind of like Nothing Manacles with the scatter. But instead of just giving a tracking that doesn't work and another charge, this gives you unlimited grenades whenever you get a melee kill. And you can actually get your melee up pretty quickly. Bottom has some ways of doing it, I think. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but top definitely does. Because your melee comes back up whenever you get kills while you're in the air. And that works with it. You can throw a grenade in a group of adds, it's gonna kill them all. If you just jump, you're gonna get a big chunk of your melee back. I think you get it back in like 4 kills. So get an enemy low, because Celestial Fire, or whatever the punch, I think it's Celestial Fire, whatever, the ranged melee, get them low so that will kill them, because it has to be a kill. And then you get 5 grenades, I think you can throw 5 grenades in that unlimited brief time. They don't stack in damage-wise, so you want to spread them out instead, but it's really cool to use. And then you can eat one for heat rises if you want. And then it's kind of a cool loop where when you throw those 5 grenades, you jump in the air, and then by the time all those grenades are burning stuff, this should have killed enough enemies that your melee's back. And then you can soften up an enemy, melee them, and then you have all your grenades back again. It's really cool, and I think it's potentially viable endgame too. It's a lot harder to soften stuff up for that melee. And you can get potentially screwed. Like if you don't have a grenade and you melee doesn't kill, you're kind of screwed, because getting then jumping kills is a little bit more difficult. But I think this goes in A. Not entirely sure. I think it goes there. I think the Power Fantasy and like all these grenades thrown around is cooler than Stormdancer's Brace, which is still very cool, I think. But I think it goes there. We have Dawn Chorus next. Rites of Ember. Your Daybreak projectiles cause targets to burn on contact and deal more damage to them. All of your burn effects last longer, and you gain a small amount of melee energy each time one of your burns damages a target. I was running this a lot when Bottom Tree got buffed with the burns and the explosions. I don't think the melee energy you get back is that great. I don't remember it being particularly great. Let me see here. Bit of a side field trip here. Yeah, so I thought there was anything on the tree itself. Okay, back to it. If I'm remembering correctly, this melee energy back is not very noticeable. I'm gonna base this off as if that's true. If it's not, whatever. It almost applies, I think. Bottom Tree is really strong right now because you have all these explosions going on. This makes those burns and explosions deal more, so that's great. And then your super is going to be doing more damage because that burn damage ramps up, and it's very noticeable then when you do like 6 of these. Your supers are going to be doing a lot of damage because you're going to stack up that burn very quickly, and then you're all doing max damage after like a swing or 2. It's super good in like easier content, all these explosions and stuff. But in higher content, might not be the best. I think I need to run this more, I think, in higher content, because it might be good. I don't know. I need to know the exact numbers, I think, would like make or break this. But I remember kind of just being dissatisfied with this, and I think I just preferred running other things with Bottom Tree Dawn, because Bottom Tree Dawn now is super good. And I don't know, this doesn't add a whole lot besides your super doing more damage and your burns doing a little bit more, but your burns are already exploding stuff. So unless the damage added is enough to like compensate for endgame difficulty stuff, I think you're better off running different things. Might be totally wrong though. I will test it, and if I'm super wrong, I'll make an amendment to this. So I think we'll just put this. I will put this here because I think if it was super strong, it would jump to there, I think. So it's top of C. If it's how I think it is, if it's way better than I think it's top of B. Final answer. Boom. Next. Felwinter's Helm. Warlord's End. Powered melee final blows create a burst of energy that weaken nearby targets. Finishers and final blows against more powerful targets increases the radius of the burst and the length of the effect, the weakening effect. I really like this one. I like using it. I think it's fun. In lower stuff, in higher stuff, it's a lot harder to get melee final blows or finishers. And the weaken effect is going to be like tether kind of. I think they're still able to shoot, but you're going to be doing more damage to them, like a Press of Darkness, basically. The radius isn't that big. It's kind of substantial if it's a powerful target, but I think it's a cool idea. I don't know how practical it is. I think practicality is a bit weird. But I think if you throw this on like bottom treat void and you do devour, you just run around finishing stuff, I think that can be cool. I think it's interesting. I will put this here, because I don't think Winter's Guile is living up to my Omega fantasy just yet. And I think right now you'd rather be punching stuff and getting everything around it weaker than just punches doing more. So I'll have it go there. Astrocyte Verse is next. Another PvP exotic, mainly. There's quite a few of these. This one is Move to Survive, Blink further and more frequently, weapons ready quickly, out of blink, and radar remains up. So you have to commit quite a lot, because you have to run Void and you have to run Blink. Blink kind of sucks if it's not in PvP. I don't see many people using it. I personally, I swapped off of it very quickly. I thought it looked cool at first, but I know it's eventually predictable, but it still feels kind of bad, and I'd rather just have the glides, like Strafe Glide and Burst Glide. Always run Burst, by the way. Strafe's a beginner's crutch. Burst is better. Just learn how to Warlock jump. It's not that hard. People over-exaggerate. But yeah, in PvE, I don't see you like wanting to like build into blink ever, and even if you do, this just blinks you a tiny bit further, and you can blink a little bit more often. In your weapon, you have like a handling bonus from it, and your radar remains up. I think that's almost all PvP stuff. I think this is almost the same as just running nothing. If you just run blink without this, I don't think you're not like, oh, like Astrocyte like makes blink. I think it does in PvP. In PvE, it's just a legendary basically. So I think for that reason, it's under Promethium Spurs. Because you have to use blink, you have to use void, and you get almost nothing out of it. There's like almost no upside. It's very, very like weak PvE wise. At least this power fantasy, this hype oh my, theoretical, what, I don't know what hype was about. Theoretical. The theoretical build for these spurs is better than anything like these could ever do. I'd say almost using these at its like worst is better than anything this can do. These are already hard to use, so boom, bottom of F. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Apotheosis Veil is next. Insatiable is the perk. Immediately regenerate health, melee, grenade, and rift energy upon activating your super. Nearby allies recharge class abilities faster. I have never once seen this exotic used by anybody besides doing like solo or two-man Spire of Stars intro encounter. Because you could throw your void bomb and then pick up those orbs that you'd throw, and that would cancel the animation of void bomb, and it wouldn't use your super energy. You'd keep your super full, but you would get health and melee and grenade and rift, so you could run it with Devour, throw your Nova, cancel that, you get healed to full, and then you have a new grenade to Devour, and then you just keep repeating that. That's the only time I have seen this used ever. That was his only niche case, was cheesing or glitching a mechanic. So based on that alone, on like its negative usage rate, I would want to put it in F. But it isn't useless like Astrocyte Verse, and it's not like a total pain in the butt like Promethium Spurs to use. It's pretty straightforward. You don't need to use any specific subclass. It's just throw your super, everything's back to full, basically. Your health's back to full, grenade, melee, rift. And then your allies recharge class abilities a little bit quicker. It's not noticeable at all. I think it's like a second or two. It's not anything big. So I think just alone, if you put this on because it's the only thing you have, and you super, and you're like, oh, I got my grenade back. It's like, okay, whatever. But it's not, okay, it's bad, but it's not F. It's better than these two. Even though I want to put it down here, I want to put it in the, I've never seen this used in my life, way down here, but this will be spared from F, put in the bottom of D. Now, we have an exotic that's just a teeny tiny bit better than that. Just a tiny bit. Verity's Brow. This bad boy is my favorite exotic. Probably for all classes. I think it doesn't look the greatest, it's kinda ugly. But what are you gonna do? Hopefully you get an ornament eventually. Armor perk is the 4th magic. Weapon final blows with the damage type matching your subclass energy, grants death throws, which provides a grenade damage bonus and grants you grenade energy. When you have death throws and throw a grenade, nearby allies gain greatly increased grenade regeneration for a short time. So you could remove this whole part here, the allies are generating grenades because it would still be an absolutely bonkers exotic without that. This is like the cherry on top, this thing, and you don't even notice it almost. This got a bit of a change with Season of the Lost, I believe it was, where it used to be any energy element, any energy damage or kill would stack death throws. That was ridiculous. That was better than like anything. But then they made it locked to your subclass, so those have to match like Mantle Battle Harmony. But because you have to do that now, they made the grenade damage a lot more. I think it's 2 times more damage. It might be even more than that. But the grenade regen is so freaking high, it's ridiculous. You can run this with Stasis, with Aegers, or Ias Luna, or Peace Bond, and you're going to be throwing Bleak Watchers out the wazoo. You're going to have a ton. In higher end content, it's going to fall off a bit because getting kills is harder, and it's going to be harder to keep stacking up death throws. But this thing works with so many builds, so many weapons, so many grenades. You have healing grenades you can run this with. You have solar grenades, or what? You have arc grenades. All the void grenades, it's crazy. And then they're all going to be doing 2 times more damage, which is really insane. And I think just the best way to like kind of show how strong this is that this competes with Contraverse Hold with void grenades. And I know that's kind of crazy, but it can. I think not in higher end stuff, because Contraverse is 50% by hitting something. So like a Grandmaster, that's way better than stacking 5 kills, because everything there is so freaking tanky. But in anything like below that, like a normal raid or a strike, this is probably equal footing with that. And then with, I think, something like Stasis, this shines. You're throwing so many Bleak Watchers out, it's crazy. I will be putting this there. It's my favorite exotic, I think. No, I don't think it is. So I think my favorite bias puts it on top here, and just with how versatile and powerful this is, even with like the amount of investment you have to put in with the matching subclass and weapon. We have Stag up next. Again, kind of a PvP exotic, but the changes they did to it recently with the damage resistance makes it potentially viable in PvE. Perk is Dearly Departed. Your Rift provides damage reduction to allied guardians standing in it, grants Rift energy when you are critically wounded. On your death, creates a healing rift on your corpse. I don't see this being useful at all in like lower tier content. I think the only way this is going to be useful is in high-end stuff where you're getting beat up really bad and having like the damage reduction helps. And so you're probably going to be wanting Healing Rift too, so you're healing and you have damage resist. You can pair this with something like Protective Light, and those resists stack, so I think you'll be like 5 times resist, so you're very, 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 very tanky. And then you can run Stasis and run the Fragment where frozen targets or Stasis crystals give you even more damage reduction that stacks with that. And that then is super, super strong. I think in PvP it was something like if you have a Stasis crystal in this with the Healing Rift, it takes like 8 punches to kill you, which is bonkers. In PvE, I think we could be seeing this used if you need to go out of cover and still live. You can throw a crystal down in your rifts and you're very, very, very strong. But I don't see that being a scenario where I don't see that being like a common scenario. And I don't know if that scenario really benefits from using Stag over something else. But just having damage resist in a Rift isn't that bad. So I think that's the same as then Karnstein's about. I'm not gonna put this, I think, any higher just because my like super tank Warlock fantasy. Because I don't know if that's like gonna be a thing even needed or even working. So I think I will put that there just because damage resist in a Rift, probably in endgame, is a little bit better than punching stuff to heal. Next up is Nezarec's Sin. Probably like close second favorite, maybe third. I love this thing. I think the look is super cool. I've kind of been not talking about looks. I'll probably just save looks then for its own video. But this is definitely up there looks wise. Abyssal Extractors is its perk. Void damage kills increase ability recharge rate. Ability energy recharge rate. So your super is going to be coming up quicker, your grenade, your punch, your rift. Everything. So this kind of one-ups Verity's Brow in that regard, because it's recharging everything quicker. But, like I said, Warlocks are so built around grenades as like their identity that Nezarec is usually used to get your grenade back quicker. Or like your super, but it's not that noticeable, the super. And then Intellect's nerf kind of, yeah. Anyways, this regen is a lot less than something like Death Throes, because all you need to do is void damage kills. So it can be you can run this without void subclass, and then just run a void weapon. You can run a void subclass and no void weapon, or you can double it up, and then you're gonna have Abyssal oh Jesus, Abyssal Extractors just on permanently. And you can stack it up, but all that's gonna do is lengthen the time. You're never gonna get like Abyssal Extractors ×2, and it recharges even quicker. I think in lower content, this thing's fantastic, and I think then it falls off in higher content, because I think Abyssal Extractors is like 3 seconds. I don't think you're gonna be chaining kills that often, and I think there's another exotic we're gonna be getting to shortly that is just this but better in high-end stuff. So I don't think this is S because of that, because of its it's not super noticeable. It's very easy to proc. So I think top of A is where it shall go. And then we will move on to the exotic I was mentioning that's better in endgame stuff, which is Eye of Another World. Cerebral Uplink is its perk. Highlights priority targets and improves the regeneration speed of your grenade, melee, and rift. The highlighting targets doesn't really matter. That could just be off of it. I don't think that like adds or detracts from it at all. But this is just a flat like stat boost to rift regeneration, and then your discipline and your strength. And the stacks, even if those are at 100. So if you were at 100 recovery and 100 discipline and 100 strength, this is still going to lower those cooldowns past that like 100 cap. And this is always on. You don't have to do anything. It's just abilities regen quicker. Everything except your super. I think in high-end stuff, this is going to be better than Verity's and better than Nezarec's, but not better than Contraverse if you're going void. I think this one shines the most when you're doing Bleak Watcher, because that's one of the quickest ways to get the Bleak Watchers up in like a GM or a Master Vault of Glass, because to get Death Throes like ×5 is pretty hard to get. And then if you're using like Nezarec's, you're gonna have to be using a void weapon. And then it's kind of the same deal with Verities. You get a kill and you have 3 seconds of a little bit quicker regen. Verities probably gives like the same amount with its ×1, so it's kind of like the same boat. But with this, you're always chugging along. Don't have to kill anything. You can just AFK. Everything's coming up quicker. Everything's coming up quicker. And you can just throw more Bleak Watchers out, more healing grenades. We're not going to say Void because you're going to be running Contraverse if you're Void. But in high-end stuff, this is underrated, especially with Bleak Watchers. But in low-end stuff, like strikes or normal raids, it kind of feels invisible, and you don't feel like it's adding a whole lot. So for that reason, I don't think I will put it above... I don't think it won't go in S. It won't go above Nezarec's, because Nezarec's you can feel. Battle Harm, I think this goes... Oh... I think that goes there. Maybe here. Just because you don't feel it, but you know it's doing something. In low-end stuff, things can do a lot more, but in high-end stuff, this is going to be doing more than I think any one of these exotics, regen-wise, except Contraverse. So I will put it here. And my bias will keep it from surpassing this Stormdancer's Brace. If it was just Stasis and like not the others, I think it could reach S, but I'm not gonna put it up there just for Stasis alone. Boom, done. Okay, this one might be a hot take. I think Crown of Tempests sucks. I don't like it that much. Perk is Conduction Tines. Arc ability kills increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities and extend the duration of Storm Trance. So Storm Trance lasts quite a bit longer, but I don't know how useful that is. Usually you kind of want to be out of it almost once you clear like a group of ads, because I don't think you want that extended duration for... I don't think any group of ads is going to take that long to kill unless they're like all majors or bosses. And then arc ability kills increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities. So this is kind of like a twin to Nezarec's. And kind of, I would say it's similar to like Verity's, Nezarec's, Contraverse, and Eye of Another World, but I just want to talk about Nezarec's, Eye of Another World, and Crown of Tempest. So they're kind of on like they're different like levels. If Eye of Another World is the weakest regen wise, but it's the easiest to activate because it's always active, it's always on. Then we have the one that gives a little bit more regen, but you have to do something to proc it. You don't have to do that much, it's just void kills, which there's a lot of void stuff in the game that's really good. So if you're always getting void kills, this beats out Eye of Another World. Eye of Another World only surpasses it if you're not getting frequent kills. Crown of Tempest needs ability kills. Ability kills specifically. That's a lot more of a jump than just void kills. It has to be arc, ability, kills. I think it stacks to ×3. So if you throw a grenade, kill 3 things, you have ×3. That's going to be pretty good. You can then, if you get a kill with your punch, you're going to reset conduction times. You'll have your grenade back, and then you can kind of chain back and forth, grenade, punch, grenade, punch. I don't think it's possible, unless you spec into like a super grenade build, that you can get your grenade back before conduction times ends. if you can, that can be interesting. But I think in almost every scenario, I would rather just run Nezarec's over Crown of Tempest. I think Crown of Tempest, it's pretty hard to use, even in-game, even in like a strike or a raid or anything really. I think the only place where it's like very, very easy to use is like a Thrawways or the beginning of Grasp of Avarice. I think you'll find very often if you use this, you'll get 2 kills with a grenade and your melee will be off cooldown or there's no enemies to kill, and then you lose Conduction Tines and you have to restart. And getting to 3 is pretty hard because your pulse grenades kind of knock enemies out. So a lot of time you'll knock out adds and you won't kill all of them. The Arc Bolt is decent and the Storm Grenade is pretty good, but a lot of those lightning bolts miss everything. And then you're kind of relying on, I'm assuming you're running Top Tree Arc, so you have the chaining, because that also helps with grenade regen and melee regen, I think. Might not be melee, but it definitely grenade. But that's not that great. And then the endgame, higher end stuff, it's even worse than Nezarec's or Verity's because it's specifically arc ability kills. Specifically that. Stuff a lot of the time won't even die to a grenade if it's standing it the whole time. So now you're going to have to soften enemies up for grenade kills or melee kills, which are risky, to get conduction times ×1. And you soften up a group and you get conduction times ×3. Well, then what? You get most of your grenade back? I think it's better off you just run Contraverse and high-end stuff, or Nezarec's even. You're going to be getting more void kills than specifically arc ability, or Verity's even. So maybe I have a bit of vendetta against this exotic. I think maybe it won't need buffs with Arc 3.0. But until then, I think it's unrealistic to live the Crown of Tempest's fantasy. If you do pull it off, I will admit it's pretty fun. So for that long of a rant, where am I going to put it? Neil. Right there. I think Dawn Chorus is better because that's just kind of always on. You don't need Dawn Chorus ×3 or anything. Our very, very last exotic. This video is coming to a close. Skull of Dire Ahamkara. Actual Grandeur. Provides additional damage resistance during Nova Bomb. Nova Bomb kills grant super energy. I think this exotic... Okay, this thing has been nerfed a lot, and it used to be pretty cool, because you could throw this at a couple of ads, like 4, 5. If it's 4 in a major or 4 in an elite, I don't know even what elites, 3 in a mini boss, you would very often just get your whole super back, and that was very cool. But now it's capped to 50%, and I think the amount you get back per kill is less. So I don't think that's good. I think it worked when you got a lot more of it, because then you could use it more as an ad clearing thing. When its purpose is most definitely like burst DPS. Or like just a massive grenade. You're not really using this for wave clear or ad clear. You'd use tickle fingers for that. I think the damage resistance isn't very useful, because I think every super just grants damage resist, unless it doesn't, which then it's okay. Nova could just grant damage resist during the throw. It doesn't need to be tied to this exotic. And then you're capped to 50, which is unrealistic to hit unless you're throwing it at ads, which isn't the point of the super. I would say this would be like if Thunder Crash is exotic, Curse of Falling Star, instead of damage, it was just this. It like almost word for word. Provides additional damage resist during Thunder Crash. Thunder Crash kills grant super energy. Up to 50. I don't think it wouldn't be used. You don't want to Thunder Crash a group of thralls. You want to Thunder Crash the big dude. I want to Nova Bomb the big dude. I don't want to Nova Bomb a group of 4 ads that only get half back. At least give me like then the whole thing, you know? It's like antithetical to the whole, for me, the whole point of Nova Bomb. I know Top Tree is a little bit different because the Nova Bomb like splits and those can hit stuff. And if you run so if a boss has like ads around it and you do that, then okay, you'll get a 20-30%. It's very rare you get the whole 50. And then you compare this to Mr. Stormdancer's Brace. You get the refund super energy based on kills, but it's also doing something more. It's doing more. It's doing more than just super regen. You're getting damage off of it. If Nova Bomb did not necessarily more damage, but maybe if it was based instead of kills, it was based on damage like Contraverse, it would be a bit better. And throwing a Nova Bomb at something, and if you're bottom tree and it's the Vortex, you could get up to half back. And then top is maybe then based on kills or just that damage too. If it can hit, if those Seekers could hit enough enemies and none of them just like fizzled out, you could get half back. I think that's what this would need to be decent. But then maybe then that's too strong, because then you're almost just having Nova Bomb's cooldown. But that might be what it needs. And then maybe that would break PvP too. But I think that's what this needs almost, is just always giving half back on Nova Bomb to be good. Because you have to run this instead of Contraverse Hold, which you'd be almost crazy to do. And then I know Phoenix Protocol is the same thing. It's just kill a bunch of ads with your super and you can get half of it back. But your whole team can use a well, and your well is more useful than a Nova Bomb. And well isn't like a burst super. It's used a lot for DPS, but you can use it. For example, it was almost required for the Reckoning Bridge encounter. That's just killing ads. This isn't doing that. This is a burst damage thing. Again, if Curse of Falling Star was Thunder Crash kills grant super energy, it would suck. I just don't like, maybe it's just me. I don't want to throw my goddamn Nova Bomb at just a pack of ads. I'll just throw my grenade. I will throw even my normal grenade, but you can throw your Contraverse, it does the same thing. I want this to be good though, because I have these cool ornaments for it, so please. This one looks sick, Edgelord. This one clearly Riven inspired. I want it to be good. I want you to be good, my friend, but you're not, and I will put you in the F. Alright, boom. That's my tier list. I don't know what time we're clocking in it. Probably the same exact time, honestly. I feel like I've been talking forever. My voice kind of hurts. But I think I did better at talking, me talk more good, and I think I delivered my points across more clearly, and I think my chart, my tier list is more to how I want it. because when I finished that video and I ended it, I like looked at it all and I like then wanted to change a bunch of stuff. Here, I don't think I'd change anything except like, oh, maybe this is better than Stag, you know? Nothing major like moving, I think, tiers, you know, except like boom, boom, like tops to bottoms of the next tier, but no major changes. So I think this is, badoom, the tier list. If you stuck around all the way to the end here, I very much appreciate it. I've been getting better at talking, and I'm surprised I can talk for, let me see, an hour and 20 minutes. I'm surprised I can talk for an hour and 20 minutes into my microphone about Warlock exotics in PvE and a tier list about them. And I've been maining Warlock since D2 came out. Basically the only class I play. I only use the other twos to level for day one. So I think I have quite an authority to talk about this. I think my opinions are valid and they're right. It's fact. It's not opinion. It's fact. It's the truth. This is the official tier list. Oh no, I'm gonna make changes now. This could be here, I think, if we want to not bloat S. Okay, what? Done. We're done. Oh, I'll keep it top of 8. I don't think it deserves S. Fuck. What? Okay, done. We're gonna be 40 more minutes of me messing around with this. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have any disagreements with this. Maybe you think Phoenix should be here instead of there. This was a lot of fun. I'm saying a lot of us now, but I had fun. I hope you have fun. I'll have timestamps so you can skip around, look at your piece, your favorite piece, see what I said about it. Yeah, that's gonna do it. I'll wrap this up so it isn't 5 hours long. Thanks for watching. Ornament tier list coming soon, maybe? We'll see. You guys have a nice day. I'll see you next time. Peace.